So today we're going to be sitting down with Tej Singh, who's a property investor, speaker and podcaster. Tej is going to be shedding some light on how you should inspire yourself and why he loves Italy so much. Enjoy. So look, Tej, thank you very much for taking time out today to come join us and have a conversation, in-depth conversation. To kick things off, what would you say is the best advice that you've ever been given in your career to date?
You know what? This is a really tricky question, and like when I saw it beforehand, and when I see it, Tim Ferriss asks this a lot. My mind goes blank because I've been given so much advice over so many years that I can't pick just one. Actually, something just came to mind. I think it was Seneca, a Stoic philosopher, said, "If it is not true, don't say it. If it is not right, don't do it." Or the opposite, which is, if it's true, say it. If it's right, do it. I think that's probably the best advice because it underpins everything. It underpins your business relationships, your business, your accounts, your tax, your relationship with your mum, with your partner, with whoever. I think that is probably the best advice I've been. I mean, he's hundreds of years old, but that's probably the piece of advice that I think, for me, hopefully dictates how I live life. I think it's easy for me to be like, yeah, the best piece of advice I've been given is never look back and something like that, and like a quote on a nice little meme on Instagram, but that's probably the best piece. It's simple, right? Just do the right thing and say the truth.
But I like that because sometimes the best things are simple and they are very straightforward. They're not overcomplicated. So I quite like that as a piece of advice to underpin what you do. And following on from that, I want to ask you about who you would say inspires you, either in the past or even present, whether they're alive or not. Who would you say generally is an inspirational figure for you?
Again, this is a question that is such a good question, but I always struggle with this. I think my answer has two parts. So firstly, I'll do the kind of normal one. There's not many celebrities or influencers who inspire me. A few of my podcast guests definitely inspire me. I think out of the people that people will know, Tim Ferriss is pretty cool. I think the way he just hacks life, he just learns a language in a week, or he just learns how to do something, or he's just so life's for the living, I'm gonna live it and just do what I like, which is pretty cool. I think his books are incredible. So Tim Ferriss, I guess the Stoic philosophers, back in the ancient Roman and Greek times, they inspire me in terms of their philosophy, which I mentioned before. But the real inspiration for me, when I get up, when I'm working, when things are tough, I don't imagine, I don't know, Orlando Bloom and be like, I want to be like him, or I want to have the impact he's had. I kind of just think, who is Tej in 5 years? Who is Tej in 10 years? And that inspires me. Seeing the person and I'm not materialistic, but seeing the lifestyle I will have and the people I'm able to help in 10 years, I'm inspired by that dude. How do I get myself closer to that dude? That is probably, not in an arrogant way, but just in I'm only competing with myself.
That's an incredible answer. That's definitely not arrogant. For me, that's self-confidence, because you're effectively saying that your future self inspires you. And sometimes we should be our own biggest critic, our own worst critic, however you want to word it. And I think, who better to inspire you than your future self? I think that's a great way of thinking about things and analyzing who you want to become. So I think I've got no qualms with that whatsoever. I'm just thinking now. Look, I'm looking at your brand and what you've created so far, and I've got to say it's hugely impressive.
Thank you.
Now with Tej Talks and when you set out designing and creating the brand, what was the marketing strategy? Because you've got a very distinctive brand, it's very eye-catching. What were your thoughts? Talk to me about what the process was.
So, I'll be honest, there wasn't much thought that was backed by motive. It was just right, what color do I look good in? was the first thing I was like, this brings out my skin tone. I was like, cool, this is a big tick. And I was like, what color would stand out against, for example, if you look in a room like at a networking event, or you just look at society out there, greys, blacks, nothing wrong with this, but everyone wears sort of a kind of a shape. You
say that, I'm slightly hiding what I'm wearing now, because you literally said the two colours that I'm wearing, but that's okay, I'm not offended.
But the majority of people wear these colours and there's nothing wrong with it, right? They look good, they're stylish when you do them right, they're great. But I just thought, if I want to make my life a little bit easier,
Yeah.
I should maybe stand out a little bit. If you look at your podcast app, and I actually did this by accident, I was just looking at my own podcast and I was like, oh, that yellow one stands out. And I was like, oh, that's me.
Yeah.
And I didn't even, I just was like, that stands out. What is that compared to 50 others on like iTunes? So the first thing was what stands out and kind of what looks good on me. I think secondly was something that shows my personality. So like, I think, so colors have a psychology, you know, like blue is kind of maybe colder, but also more trustworthy. Green is like the earth and new beginnings. Yellow is kind of optimism and like vibrancy and I guess youthfulness. And I thought, that kind of, hopefully I think, sums me up. So I thought, okay, this sums me up. This sums up the kind of vibe I'm going for. Like, I could have done a sexy deep blue, like kind of what you're sitting behind and what we're sitting on, to be super bougie. Like if I was a Mayfair property developer, it'd be these chairs all day long.
All day.
I promise you, but that's not me. So that's why I chose yellow. I think, you know, that was the only strategy I put in, really. Other than that, it was like, I like yellow, it's a bit different. It'll maybe make my life easier in terms of like getting the brand and stuff out there, because it's so like, whoa, who wears yellow? Like it's such a bold color to wear and to just be. How many brands are yellow? I can think of like a couple.
There's not many. Savills, I know. I mean,
Yeah.
to be fair, don't, without sort
Yeah,
of
they do,
shout
yeah.
them out, but they're the only sort of iconic brand that springs to mind when
There
I think
are
of
some
yellow.
others, but they're not. I mean,
Yeah.
they are iconic, but they're not healthy. So I'm gonna just. They're
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
giving it away right now, but I'll ignore them.
fine.
But it like you don't find property companies or banks,
Yeah,
even challenger banks, they're not yellow. So there was a bit of thought, but I think I'm more focused on what can I deliver behind the yellow, and what
right.
is the value I can give behind,
Right.
which is a lot more important.
So was it like when you were at nursery, you were known for wearing yellow and that was your favorite colour? It was
No.
actually, this is eye-catching, this is going to make me stand out, let's
Yep.
run with this.
Yeah, I think when I was young, orange was my favorite color. We actually
Yeah.
painted our front door orange of our house
Okay.
from one of my birthdays.
Not a million miles apart.
Not too far apart, right? Still
yeah.
a bright kind of color, but I don't know what made me not choose orange. I don't know what made me not choose orange, but I've always been into bright colors and things that are vibrant. I've always kind of like, I dance, or I used to dance a dance called Bhangra dancing,
Okay.
which the outfits are super colorful
Yeah,
and it's high
yeah.
energy. And I think it just all, now I'm speaking to you, it kind of, I'm like,
It's
yeah, this
making
all adds up.
sense.
Like, It's
Interesting.
very obvious for you, Tej.
Yeah, but you know what? For whatever reason, it worked, and it's definitely successful. I mean, what you've done so far in your career today is super impressive. In building
you.
up this brand, I've seen the social media following, and you know the feedback has been very impressive. So I suppose what I wanted to also ask you was about how you've gone about building a brand where you're helping other people, you're educating, you're coaching, you're encouraging people to get into the property industry, and you're trying to facilitate the process. How did you go about? How did you start this? Did someone help you? Did someone sit you down and say, right, this is how the property industry works?
No. I think so. Obviously, there's property courses out there. Everyone kind of knows about them and knows about the reputation and the good and the bad. And you can do that. You can get that knowledge in a weekend, you know, pay a couple grand, done. I did it the hard way, and what I call like a Nando's budget. Shout out to Nando's. They want to give me a black card after this, they can. So a property course costs £1,500 roughly.
Yeah.
An average Nando's is what, like £11, 10 pence? Not to be specific.
It's been a while since I
But-
went, but yeah, roughly around that. Yeah.
How many Nando's could you buy someone who's 10 steps ahead of you, who's doing what you want to do, have an hour with them and say, look, I'll buy you dinner, just give me an hour of your time.
Yeah.
How much knowledge, how many relationships, how many people would then expand your network by doing that, as opposed to a course? Yes, it takes longer, but that's what I did.
Yeah.
I just said, you know what? I'm going to network. I'm going to go to events. I'm going to buy people whatever. I'm going to get their time, pick their brains, read books, listen to podcasts first. That then educated me. But I guess technically I started the podcast 5 or 6 months before I had my first property.
Oh, right.
So
Okay.
a lot of people then say, but why would someone listen to you when you haven't done anything? And what it was, and this is a tip for anyone, is no matter what stage you're at in life or in an industry, you still have value to add. And my value was getting people who experienced, putting them on camera, putting them on audio, and showing them to the world. And like creating a platform, right?
Yeah.
Like what you're doing.
It's very similar.
It's
Absolutely.
the same thing, right?
Yeah.
You and me don't need to be, and to put it bluntly, we don't even need to know about the
No,
industry.
you're right.
We can still build a platform.
Yeah.
So for me, it was, that 6 months of building a platform, and every podcast I did was education to me.
Yeah.
It was free education.
You've hit the nail on the head, because even this interview, I know 3 months time, I will go back and I will backtrack and listen to some of the words that you're giving, and I always learn from the interviews we have, and it's one of my best things to do on a Friday or even a Saturday afternoon, is to look back at the interviews and say, oh, that's interesting. I definitely feed off the content that we're giving out to the general public.
So it benefits you and your audience, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's how I kind of started. I saw the education that was being provided at the time. I wasn't overly impressed or happy with it, and I thought, surely I can give people something for free, which I didn't have at the time or couldn't find anyway. And I started interviewing people. I didn't really talk about myself until like 4 or 5 months in.
Yeah.
Because I was like, you know what, and maybe this was a mistake, people don't really want to hear about me. They want to hear about these experienced guys and girls who are killing it. But there's always a way to start building a brand, and there's always a way to do it irrespective of experience. Because say if you're new to property, right? People always say, oh, but what do I post about? Because I haven't got a house, I'm like, are you on Rightmove? Yes.
Yeah.
Are you viewing properties? Yes. Are you speaking? The list goes, or you get the point, right? And I'm like, so every single one of those is a post.
Yeah.
You go to networking events, that's a post.
Absolutely.
But everything in life can be used for social media. So I think utilizing that principle, which I learned from, I actually don't know where I learned it.
Well, that's
the internet, maybe?
Yeah, well, that's interesting. I was
Like-
going to ask you, did you have a mentor or someone that said, this is the direction, just sort of tweaked your approach and how you did things?
No, I think my mentor was like the market, as they say. Like my mentor was, oh, that post didn't get that much engagement, or got some bad feedback there. Let me.
So you're
adapt.
learning as you're going along.
Yeah,
And that's
always.
so important, because people
Always.
always think there's a secret magic formula of someone who's going to say, right, this is how it's done, this is the path, come along. It's not always like that, is it?
No, and I think it's easy to go and pay someone 1997 for a course like that to change their life in 6 months, and it doesn't happen. Like there's no silver bullet. Health, fitness, mental health, business, there's no, you can hack stuff and you can make stuff more efficient, but there's no silver bullet. Like for example, with my brand, and pretty much through my brand, I've raised £440,000 in private investor finance in 3.5 months. But it's taken me 12 months, right? Because it's taken 12 months of every day posting, commenting, to then be able to raise almost £500,000 in 3.5 months. But people don't want to hear that. When I say that, they switch off. Their first bit, they're like, oh, great. And then they're just like, cool. I'm like, no, did you hear the most important part, which is it took 12 months of like BS to get to this point.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, I think you're making a very, very valid point there about sort of posts and how you can build up your own personal brand, and everyone's got a story to tell. Now, I saw on your LinkedIn, your LinkedIn is great. The way you sort of worded everything is very engaging and very easy to digest. Some people I see some very boring and very mundane profiles. He's like, how am I gonna buy into you as a person if I find your LinkedIn profile boring? But I found your LinkedIn profile very, very interesting. One thing I thought was fascinating, you mentioned that you're learning to speak Spanish.
See?
So I'd be quite fascinated to know, give us, as an example, can you say, how would you sum up the UK property market in Spanish? Just for our Spanish listeners.
El mercado let me start again.
Yeah.
El mercado
The market, right?
Inmobiliario del Reino Unido es complejo.
I know the last word is complicated.
So the UK housing market is complicated,
Right.
pero no
But
es una excusa
no
para
excuses.
no hacer nada.
Something to speak. We don't speak. Is how
So
they speak?
it means the UK property market
Very
is complex.
good accent, by the way. I
Thank
definitely
you.
genuinely felt
I love
the
languages.
Spanish. That's very good.
So the UK property market is very complex, but it's no excuse not to do anything.
I like that.
Tengo más. La debida diligencia es muy importante. So due diligence is super important, es número uno.
Amen.
Pero hay muchas oportunidades en este país. However, there are many opportunities in this country.
Fantastic. I think that is superb.
Thank
That
you.
is
Gracias.
superb. That is it.
I love languages. I love communicating.
So can you speak any other languages?
I speak Punjabi, which is like my home
Yeah.
language.
Yeah.
Little bits of Italian. I'm obsessed with Italy, so
Yeah.
enough to get me by.
deep.
Basically, enough to get me
Conversational level, sort of.
enough to get me the food I like,
Right.
which for me, which
Your
for me
pasta
is just.
and your spaghetti
Yeah.
and your gelato.
There's
and all
priorities,
sorts.
right?
Yeah,
Like, as long as I can order the food I like and I
Yeah.
can be polite, I'm happy.
Do you know, I'm super jealous. I'm from a Nigerian household, Igbo tribe, and I can understand, and my parents always used to speak to me when I was young, but I can never speak. It's so annoying, and I always
It's
get
never too late to
frustrated.
learn.
That is true. That is true. I should find time to try and pick it
You
up.
can with apps like Fluently,
No,
Duolingo,
absolutely right.
all
You're
these
right.
apps.
You're right. There's all sorts of technology out there now, so there isn't really an excuse. Like you're saying, no excuse.
Yeah.
There. No excuse. Isn't you excuse there?
I think so, yeah.
Something like that. But yeah, I saw something else that was quite interesting as well on your LinkedIn profile. I saw that you like to play FIFA in your spare time.
My spare time is
Yeah.
a bit of a myth now, but when I
At
did
one
have,
point, yeah.
yeah,
And then that's, that caught my eye because I'm a huge football fan, frustrated football fan at the moment. So I support Man United, but that's a whole
Okay,
other
I
story
feel
for
you, yeah.
another day. But I wanted to sort of pick your brain about football and taking a step aside from property and podcasting. But
Okay.
if you were to be a footballer for one day, and you can relate it to a property context, but who would you be for a day?
So this might surprise you.
Right.
I'm not interested in football.
That
But
does surprise
But I
me.
love FIFA because you get to,
Interesting.
like with films. I watch films.
Yeah.
But I'd rather be the guy in the army shooting. I'd rather be in the video game.
Okay.
So
yeah.
like I don't watch football.
Right.
I haven't got 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Even the highlights. You know what? I'll be honest. I would. Okay, Real Madrid, Barcelona. I'll watch.
A classical.
AC
yeah, it's a
Inter,
derby.
I'll
yeah,
watch.
Right. Okay.
But like, I just don't. I'm not really interested in many sports.
Yeah.
Personally, you might not like this. I think they're just overpaid. Look at
No,
doctors and heart
I fully
surgeons,
agree.
right? Like
I fully agree with that.
this
It
guy.
is
Oh,
what
you
it
kicked
is,
a
yeah.
ball. Here's a
Yeah.
million quid. Like you've done nothing for society. Anyways, long story short. But if I could be a footballer, it would be Cristiano Ronaldo.
Okay, fair enough.
Because
the greatest in my opinion.
I think he's the greatest
One of, at
factually, or
least.
one of.
Yeah.
Also, he gets paid £780,000 per Instagram post. So I would be all on his phone all day, into my bank account, and it'd be happy days.
Good
right?
answer, good
so,
answer.
yeah, I would be him. And he's got an underwear line, so I could just be modelling. It'd be great, mate. It would be the dream, right? Like, I'd love it.
Amazing. All right, so I'll give you that. So Cristiano Ronaldo, but also, the fact that you said you're not sure about football and other sports, I think the actual answer, Tej, is the property industry is your sport. Property is your sport. The way you're treating this industry, it's a game. You're looking at it, even podcasting to some extent, the tactics involved, the strategy, the setup of formation. It is a sport. I mean, maybe I'm clutching at straws to some extent, but I do see it as a sport.
There's validity in your comparison.
I mean, yeah.
There is. More like Football Manager than FIFA.
Yeah.
aka less fun, more real. But there are strategies,
Yeah.
of course, and there are principles and formations, and
Absolutely.
I'll give you that.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll take that. So I want to ask you just a bit about more places now, rather than property and specific residential. I want to ask you about places and perhaps where your favourite place is, because you've mentioned you're a big language speaker, or you're a fan of learning languages. Where would you say is your favourite place in the world?
Or easy, Italy.
Italy.
So
okay.
without, I've been there. I've been to so I think there's 18 different regions. I've probably been to 11 of them.
Yeah. Do you have a favourite within Italy? Because I think
You're
that's
killing
too
me, man.
broad, man.
You're
That's too
killing
broad.
me. You know what?
We got to go more specific, Tej. We're going to go now.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you two, and then I'm gonna. Okay, so my favorite for food
Yeah.
is Emilia Romagna, which is a region at the top where Bologna is. Bologna.
That's where the
and
bolognese comes from, right?
so yes, but spaghetti bolognese is not a thing.
Really?
It's a fake dish. It's ragu with pappardelle or another flat ribbon pasta. I forget the name of it.
Yeah.
Spaghetti bolognese. If you go to taxis
Yeah.
in Bologna, some of them have signs saying spaghetti bolognese is fake. Don't ever ask us. It's offensive.
Mind blown.
It's not, because
Wow.
spaghetti doesn't go with it's not
So
a
we've been frauded this whole time.
100%. It's like
it's
it's like chicken tikka. They're just it's a
Oh, yeah, I've heard
bastardization
that.
of it.
Yeah. Wow.
Like it's not a legit thing. And they have ragu, which is like beef shin, which is slow cooked instead of minced. So there's little things, and this fascinates me.
I need to go to it. So it's in northern Italy,
so
right?
yeah, it's probably one of the most northernmost states. Like Ferrari, Pagani, Maserati are all from. It's the richest region.
Oh.
I think it might be the richest region in like Europe or something.
Yeah.
And when you land at the airport, so you know to go to Heathrow, right? The safety car is like a little Peugeot, right? Little dinky.
Yeah.
You go to Bologna, it's a Lamborghini.
Oh God, okay, right.
Orange Lamborghini. In the airport, they've got a Lamborghini. Just
now I understand.
So you're like, cool, we in this place.
I get what vibe they're on.
Yeah. So for food, it's like Emilia Romagna and Bologna. For just pure peace of mind and soul calmingness, it's probably Sardinia. Because I always describe it as what Earth should look like.
Right.
If humans didn't exist, if Mother Nature could kind of roam free and not be interfered with, it would be Sardinia. It's just so
aesthetically, you're talking here, like the way it's designed.
The nature. So just the pure, like it is what Earth, you know, it should look like. Like if there is a God, they would look at Sardinia and say,
that's it.
You're messing around. You should be more like that.
Right.
But there's so many regions. Calabria is beautiful, and no one knows about it. There's so many like pockets.
I know what you mean though, because I've been to. I'm a big fan of Italy as a country actually as well. I mean, they have their flaws. Every country has its flaws. Look at us in the UK, right?
Yeah.
But I've been to Palermo, which is brilliant, which is in Sicily, isn't
it?
Yeah, and
that's crazy.
And that's crazy, but they're also beautiful as well. I mean, again, the food, you're always going to love the food, but very, very interesting, very, very cultural architecture as well.
Oh yeah, classic.
Exquisite,
yeah.
You know, so I see what you mean about Italy.
But Sicily is crazy.
Yeah.
The driving and driving in Italy is pretty.
It's wild, right?
Yeah,
it's wild.
But some parts of Sicily, I was like, I'm gonna park here. We'll get an Uber there.
It's wild, it's wild. But I did find that it keeps you on your toes, and
it does.
That's okay. So you've almost got a bit of a Italian love.
I'm obsessed.
Affair,
like
right?
Honestly, me and my fiance were obsessed with Italy. Like it's every year we're like, where should we go on holiday? Italy, cool. Where now in Italy? Cool. So it's such an easy decision.
Yeah, it's so easy to get to as well.
So easy, 2 hours away. It's cheap. Easier. Like languages is fairly similar to Spanish, so it's I love Italy, honestly.
Amazing. Okay, well look, I mean I've enjoyed this a lot. I think, you know, they say time flies when you're having fun. This has gone super quickly, and I think to sort of close this, I want to find out from you, where would you say, in fact, what would you say is a legacy that you want to leave on the built environment? Like the reason we title and the reason why I word it in that way is this is a built environment platform, right? We're all about cities and trying to create better places. That involves people, that involves buildings, that involves the whole thing together. What legacy would you say you want to leave?
I think so. When you started that question, my first response was legacy, because I'll tell you why. A separate thing, legacy in general, I kind of never really understood, and I always ask everyone, tell me, like convince me, because you're dead. So your legacy, it's nice that people are speaking about you and stuff, but you are dead.
Yeah.
So and maybe this is like an ego thing, but you never get to hear that. So what's the point? I want to live and enjoy everything whilst I can actually feel it. Hey, maybe I'll be reincarnated as a bird, who knows? But as far as I know, I'm not gonna hear it or feel it or see it. And when I'm dead, I'm not gonna feel, I left an impact. So for me, I always say to everyone who is strong about legacy, tell me what you mean. So in that sense of legacy, I'm still developing an understanding of it, to be totally honest, like in terms of like, how do I really perceive it? But legacy on the built environment, I like that question, because it removes that personal bit. It means like, what am I doing on the communities that I'm, I guess,
That's exactly it, yeah.
So for me, and it's something I'm doing now, is transforming the housing market. You know, I don't have a personal affinity to where I invest. I do now, because I love the people there, and I've sort of got more into the culture. But it's not like where my mum grew up, or where it has no emotional affinity to me. However, I see the quality that some of my builders are living in, or they tell me, or I see the kind of quality that's on the market, and I just think, if these people just chose a different shade, put slightly better carpet in, we're talking hundreds here, not thousands of pounds. I don't invest in London, so obviously this is a different scale. It would literally transform the market. So I want to come in and say, look, I've thought about design, I've thought about functionality. I want you to come home and be like, damn, I love those kitchen handles. Like, I want that. As tiny as it is, I want them to come home and be like, wow, you know, that feature wall looks amazing. Or like, oh, this carpet's really soft.
Yeah.
The little dumb things that you don't think about.
Yeah.
But when we go home to our own houses, if we stared at a wall, we'd probably be like, wow, that is a bad paint job.
Yeah.
Or like, this kitchen is bad. So I want people to come home,
Yeah.
feel a type of way, a positive type of way,
Yeah.
and to do this street by street, town by town, and to just show people, look, it is possible to do nice houses and still make money and still be
Yeah.
profitable.
Yeah.
So I just I guess in a legacy type of answer, just to be specific to your question, when I'm gone, you know, wherever that is, it'd be great if people were like, oh, that's one of, you know, Tej Invest's houses or developments.
Yeah.
You know, the quality of it is outstanding and the style is incredible and we love living here. Whoever Tej is, thanks so much.
Yes.
So that's, I guess, the answer to the question.
I think that's.
Is that-
I mean, that would be a truly incredible legacy, because you're talking about an excellence of standards. You know, you want to be known for leaving high caliber, quality accommodation. Which, let's be completely truthful here, there's some questionable accommodation in the country.
Yeah,
and in London,
plenty,
in
yeah.
the city that we live in, there's a lack of, I think, high level. I mean, in some parts, of course, okay, you know, it is quality, but I think that consistent quality to be associated with that, and for various communities as well, not just the very rich, I think that's a huge legacy to leave, and I think that would be something that people would definitely be in support of. So I think that's a great answer.
Thank you.
Look, Tej, it's been absolutely amazing having you on our show today. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate
all the
it.
best in your future endeavours, and I'm sure there'll definitely be more potential collaboration going forward.
100%.